Hi there. This next video is going to focus on the front settings. So everything that has to do with this first tab right here. Um, I'm using the default frame, didn't import any new DXFs, and very simply from top to bottom, the lens size, the DBL, and the lens height all say original, and you can deviate from that original size by removing 1, 2, 3 millimeters or adding 1, 2, 3 millimeters, whatever. And that would be in this respect. If we have a boxed lens size of 46.2, it's the original size that comes or that the app picks up from your original DXF. So in this case, my DXF had a boxed lens size of 46.2. If I want to add, let's say, 1 millimeter to that 46, it's going to be 47.2, obviously, and let's wait for it. There it is. And let's see the DBL. I'm going to remove 0.5. There it is. That was quick. And between brackets, we have the measurements considering the lens canal. So the lens groove in this case has a depth of 0.8. So that's 1.6 for each side. And that's what you get between brackets. So that's has to do with sizing, lens height, same thing. I'm not going to do it now, just going to move forward, but it's the same thing. And everything is changing without changing the key measurements. Like for example, if we change the lens height, let's say we add 1.5 to the height. I'm going to do it. I said I wasn't, but I am. Just to make sure we don't want to change the end piece height because that has to match your temple height. So it's going to change everything regarding the lens size, and in this case shape, or the DBL, but it's not going to change your overall geometry. Then let's go to bridge thickness. There are three areas that we can alter the thickness. So the bridge thickness, let's say it's 5, it's going to be the thickness here at the bridge. So it's going to jump from the default 4, there it is 5. Let's do 5 in the center. The center of the lens, that would be about there. So there it is. I moved it right at the moment that it updated. And now the end piece thickness, which is here, let's say I want 5.5. So maybe that has to do with the temple or hinge or whatever I have to work on here. That's 5.5 there. Now, rim taper is something that I added more recently, and it's how, when viewed, let's say from the left, when I view the frame from the left or from the side, how the rim thickness that goes from 5.5 up here goes and tapers down to look a bit more, to slim down to the bottom part. Now, this is radius, so this is pretty new. I should clarify that. So let's say I want a 0.6, degree, it's an angle. I'm going to angle this back part. As you can see, it's hard to see actually. Let's look at it from here. So yeah, you can see that now the distance between the groove and the back part is smaller, and that's because I have a thinner, you can see it there, how it tapers down to the bottom part. This can be optional. It's purely aesthetic because for acetate frames, this might be something that you avoid. Well, I'm not going into that, but it's there. It's an option. Next, let's go to the canal, or the groove. By default, it has a width of 2 millimeters. Let's look at it. Here's the cross section, so we can see it more clearly. So from this point to this point, we have 2 millimeters, and by default, we have a depth. So let's say the midpoint between these two would be about here. From there to the vertex, that would be 0.8, as mentioned before. And next is the canal position. So where is that canal positioned with respect to the rim? Now this is tricky. For one, because the rim thickness is changing with the thicknesses that I specified up here. So we are going to have some variation among the bridge Also, if we consider that we're adding a bridge bump, that's also going to alter this thickness. These are all things that happen when someone works on a frame, be it for 3D printing or even an acetate. After this is molded, this is heat bent, and let's say the nose is bumped. All of these thicknesses start to change, and that is somewhat reflected here in 3D. Um, so, for example, well, sorry, even the rim taper alters that thickness here at the bottom. So that's why the canal position is kind of tricky. And for that reason, I added something here like, for example, 0.8 from the front edge. I know that the front edge is, I can take that, use that as my reference. So there it is. I know that this is 0.8. That can be an option or not. I can add some more. I can take it more to the back. For now, I have been using it always centered because I had no reason to go more to the front or more to the back. But this is something that you would have to test, and each design would require something different. That's why I'm giving many options there to play with, depending on the thicknesses that you've specified previously. And finally, the lens base, which in this case is a curvature of one. This has to do with I think the refractive index of the lens. So it's going to be different, but it's somewhat close to this. So base 4, 3, 2, etc. The higher bases like 6 and 8 are not that recommendable because this is not intended for, let's say, a base 8 sports frame. This is more intended for a more standard acetate frame that's going to be lower bases from maybe 4, 3, 2 going down, right? So a flatter frame would be base 2, and everything is going to update to reflect that base 2. What's left? The panto angle, which is by default at 7. I can play with that and give it a higher panto angle, let's say 9. Sorry, I moved it again just when it updated, but there it is. And the panoramic angle, which is the angle at which the lens is tilted on this plane. Now, I've worked with many opticians, and I've seen some variations on how or where this angle is taken from. So bear in mind that this can be different to what you are used to. In this case, I am tilting, as you can see. Let's give it some more tilt. 8. So it's 7.1. You can see it's picking up a decimal there, but that's not important. 8.2, and it's tilting from the lens center. So that's how I tilt my frame to arrive at the overall front curvature. All of this is quite tricky. I've known from working from shops that all of this is pretty different. It's done somewhat differently in each shop. Everyone that I talk to has a slightly different version of this. So if you have some recommendations or suggestions for ways that this should be implemented differently, just let me know. I'd love to hear it and see if I can consider implementing some of those changes. So yeah, that's it for these front configurations. In the nose, we can add this to the front actually, which is the bridge bump. We can, without considering nose pad, let's just go to the bridge bump, which is a soft bump. There is no bump here; it's just soft and smooth, and we can tell it to be higher or lower. This is totally arbitrary. There's no distance in this bumping more or less. It's mainly aesthetic because if you are doing acetate, of course, this is going to be resolved by heat bumping with your tools. It's not going to. This is not going to have any relevance in 3D. If I wanted a hard bump, which is more akin to acetate, where we have an actual radius there. It's I call it a hard bump because it's more notorious. You can actually see that hard edge there. And again, we can do it low, medium, high, height. I'm going to leave it still there so you can see the update. And there it is. That would be medium. And it has an additional feature here where you can play with the bump width. And this is basically, where is this happening? Where is this radius here happening? Where's the break, let's call it? So we can go, let's say we can go a bit to the left, like 1.6 millimeters. It's going to move. So I can adjust this depending on my frame shape. So there it is. I think it was okay the way it was originally, but just to illustrate what this does. And also the angle. For example, let's go back. I'm going to leave it at 0, right smack in the middle there. But let's say I wanted to tilt it so it's a bit more vertical. Again, I can give it some degrees of angle. So in that case would be minus 2.2, and it's going to tilt to the left. Hardly noticeable there, but let's go to the front to see if this can help. Now let's keep that perspective. My video is going really long, but it's not a problem. Let's go even more. This is very subtle. It's not that important. There it is. But depending on your design, it may or may not be more important. So yeah, that's I covered quite a lot, and my video went longer than expected. But yeah, I hope this helps, and give me any feedback you may have on this. Thanks.